Okay, hold on.
I'm really confused about the whole project.
I don't know. I don't know why.
Okay,
Can I use that?
we're at Orchard Park High
Maybe
School.
put it right
The date is April 13th, 2005. We're interviewing Mr. Henry Dinder, a World War II veteran. He is being interviewed by
Nick Projectile.
Nick,
Dave Cole.
Dave, Madeline,
Ashley Wells,
Ashley,
Kristen Zell,
Kristen,
Laura Rojak.
Laura Rojak. Okay, give them your words of wisdom and tell them everything they need to know and everything
Okay.
you want preserved for posterity.
Well, that's nice. This is great. I mean, I'm in my 80s. I'm a World War II veteran. I was in the European Theater of Operations.
They do have questions to ask you, or would
Yeah,
you rather
but-
say a few things first?
But I would, rather than talk about myself, I would, I've got it written up, explaining who I am, where I was, and I'm concentrating more on the outfit that I was with.
Okay. If you feel
Instead of
comfortable
having
doing that.
my own personal,
Well, yeah, but they really want to know about your personal
Oh,
stuff,
okay.
too.
But
They
if-
want to know your personal stuff.
okay.
Okay.
Well, this is basically about my outfit and what we did.
Okay.
Would you like to hear it?
Sure.
You have to go back to 1942, 43. And I was with the 299th Combat Engineers. And if this isn't what you're looking for, I can stop and then we can go back to whatever schedule you people have. The 299th Combat Engineer Battalion is a relatively old outfit, old in length of service and venerable in combat participation. Theirs is a record that can boast of many stellar accomplishments. Originally part of the 355th Engineer Central Service Regiment, the 299th was activated at Camp White, Oregon on March 3, 1943. After extensive maneuvers with the parent outfit, the outfit was made up for the most part with upstate New Yorkers. Most of the personnel came from Fort Niagara to join the unit in July of 1943. The battalion participated in Oregon maneuvers. When the unit was activated, Major Milton Jewell assumed command and was in turn succeeded shortly thereafter by Major George Mooney, with Major Jewett acting as executive officer. Many moves followed. From Oregon, the outfit made its way to Fort Lewis, Washington, then to Fort Pierce, Florida, for amphibious underwater demolition training. Then at Camp Pickett, Virginia, for infantry-type field work. In quick succession to Camp Kilmer, New Jersey, and to the port of embarkation and overseas. The battalion sailed on the morning of April 6, 1944. On the 16th of April, their ship dropped anchor at the harbor of Cardiff, Wales. After an eventful crossing of the Atlantic, unit training and combat briefing took place aboard ship. The 299th was assigned upon arrival in the United Kingdom to the First Army and went through extensive underwater demolition training and tactics. On June 1st, 1944, excuse me, the outfit moved out of the embarkation area at the port of Weymouth. On the morning of the 6th of June, D-Day, the 299th Engineers were in the first wave of troops that hit Omaha and Utah Beach. In fact, elements of the battalion actually landed before any other American troops had set foot on the beach. It was the only engineer outfit to land on both Utah and Omaha Beach at each hour plus 2 minutes. 6 gaps were breached in the forward defense wall 50 yards wide, including Belgian fortified elements of sea gates, the letter C. Mine-saturated fields and other enemy obstacles under a devastating fire. This goes on what happened. I mean, if you want me to continue or if you want to get back to your questions, either way.
Well, we can like maybe do a round of questions and then.
Would you want me to finish this? There's 8 pages.
Oh, maybe.
I'm on page 2. I don't know how much time you guys have.
For like 25 minutes probably.
Yeah,
We should probably.
probably. Why don't we just ask you questions and
Oh, okay.
Because I think we need to know more like personal experiences and like
Can
what.
we do a presentation?
To do- yeah.
Well, I got the
More.
questions here somewhere.
So
Why don't we just like.
Why don't I leave this book with you guys? And it tells you about what we did, what some of the awards we got. Could I leave this here for
yeah, and we
for
can
the
get it
record?
back to you.
You could make copies, and if you want copies of what we did, you know, in Europe, we went through the Normandy invasion. We went into Central Europe. We were in Aachen. We were in the Battle of the Bulge, and we got into Germany when the war ended. That basically is a brief synopsis of the outfit that I was with. But to get back to your questions, let me see if I brought a copy with me.
I have one.
We
if you
have
wanna see 'em.
yeah, we have a copy of the questions. So
Have
we
it?
can use.
Maybe I didn't bring them. Oh,
Right.
thank you. You want me to read them?
We can read them, then you can just answer them.
Yeah, pick
somebody
out the
wanna read
ones
'em?
like pick one
Alright.
of the ones that you wanted to ask. And
All right. Were you drafted or did you enlist?
I was drafted. Prior to being drafted, when I was 15, me and my buddy Matt Seeley, we lied about our age and we signed up with the 106th Field Artillery, which is, I think it's still located at the Maston Street Armory. I don't know if you're familiar where that's at. It's in Buffalo. So we were 15 and we went to camp twice. And when the National Guard was federalized, the government took over. The war was coming on with Japan. We then went into Anniston, Alabama. I didn't go because my mother got so excited, you're not going. So she called the commander, and they called me in the office and says, "How old are you?" And of course, I knew the jig was up, so I just walked out the door. That was it. And then later on, of course, I was drafted. And the next question is,
Why did you join?
why did I join? I think I joined because all my friends were going. It was a national emergency, and the draft boards were established, and each draft board were calling those individuals of draft age. And of course, that didn't mean that if you were drafted, you were in the service. All that meant you were drafted and you went in for a physical, for examinations, and if you passed, then you were sworn into service. Next.
What was your training camp experience like?
Pardon?
What was your training camp experience like?
Well, it consisted of going to Fort Niagara, where you were processed, you were tested, and after which you were then sent to wherever they needed you. In my case, and a group of us from Western New York, we were put aboard trains and we were sent cross-country to the state of Oregon, Camp White, Oregon. That was where we had basic training. We trained in field maneuvers. It was just like a boot camp that you've probably heard about. There were a lot of marches, a lot of calisthenics. We were primarily a construction battalion. We built bridges. We put up communication lines. And I got injured, so I was put on temporary duty. They put me in the kitchen. So after I had a bum, I twisted my ankles. I couldn't go on marches and do the things. But I still was with the outfit. So after my stint in the kitchen, they asked me if I wanted a job. So I became a cook. And I stayed with that assignment all through the war. Next.
I was like about you said you went with a lot of your friends, but I mean, were you with them the entire time with the same people? Like, did
Some people, yeah.
friendships?
Some people stayed that I knew in, you might say, civilian life. Some of them I went to school with. And it was primarily a lot of people from the Western New York area. We had people from Rochester, Syracuse, Buffalo, and the environs. So it was a close-knit group. And once you're with a group, it's like you guys in classes. You know, you started in your first year, and you keep going until you graduate. It's like a cohesive family group. It's not family, but you're close together.
Did you stay with those?
And that is the object of, I think, any type of military environment that you might get into, whether it's the Marines, Navy, Coast Guard, you name it. You're with a bunch of people and they become family. And you want to stay with them for as long as you're there. Anything else?
Well, after the war was over, did you like stay in contact with those people?
Well,
Like, just kind of.
let's get to that part later. Huh? I'm still in basic training. And okay, we'll continue that vein. After basic training, of course, came specialized training. We got involved with demolition work. We were taught how to destroy obstacles that we knew that the enemy was putting in our way and in the way of other troops that were supposed to go in that direction. When we got into the invasion, there were obstacles in the shores that the sea gates, the Belgian sea gates, letter C, was a type of obstacle that the enemy put, and we couldn't get our ships in. Nothing could come through that area, so somebody had to go in and blow those obstacles up to make a clearance for other troops to follow. And this was all under fire. We were down here at the beach, and the enemy is up in the cliffs here looking down at us, so you can imagine it was almost like shooting fish in a barrel. We lost a lot of men. A lot of guys were killed. A lot of them were wounded. And it was kind of a sad event. It still bothers me to this day. and I think any combat veteran will probably tell you the same thing. You'd never forget. It's an experience that stays with you for the rest of your life. Not because of the action that you were in and the effects that that action had on you as a person, but I think what it is, it's the memories of people that you knew, that you lived together with, you slept together with, not together, but you were in barracks, and it was a family type oriented group. We worked together and we laughed together, we played together, and we ate, we lived. It was family. The battalion was composed of, we had A, B, and C batteries, and the battery was broken up into platoons, and the platoons were broken up into squads. And each company had its own leader or commander, and they were assigned certain duties because you didn't go in together for one job, you were spread out. Now on the beaches we were spread out. The initial assault on the beaches was composed of groups of people in landing craft that landed. We went in and you had a certain assignment. You had about 30 minutes to complete your assignment because there was a lot of traffic behind you. You had to clear the way for that traffic to get in. So basic feelings are the friends that you knew, and some of them came through okay. What bothers a lot of people like myself is that you remember your friends that are no longer with you. You dream about it sometimes, and the funny thing about having friends way back there is when you dream of them, that they never get old. They're always like you remember them back in the 40s. Why that is, I don't know. Any other things? Who's got the questions? You can skip around if you want to.
Where did you travel while you were in the service?
Where did I travel?
Yeah.
You mean while I was in the service?
Yeah, while you were in the service.
Well, like I told you, we started initially at Fort Niagara, and from there we went to Oregon. From Oregon we went to Fort Lewis, Washington, because we were scheduled to go into the Pacific. And it seemed at the last minute, our outfit, plus our sister outfit, the 300 engineers, we were withdrawn, and we were sent to Florida for amphibious training. And then we realized our assignment was not the Pacific, but the Atlantic, or in Europe. And then from Europe, we went into Normandy, and through Normandy we went into Belgium, we went into Luxembourg, and then finally we got into Germany, and that's when the war ended, May 8, 1945. That was a fast trip. I must be in fast forward.
Do you get homesick?
Oh yeah, you got homesick. I was fortunate enough to get home while I was in the States at least twice, what we call a furlough. You got 14 days. And it was nice always to get home. But it was always nice to get back with the guys, with your family. And then after the war was over there, we were sent from Germany down to Marseille, France, which is on the southern coast of France, because then they started issuing us jungle equipment, which meant that the war in Japan was still on, so we were being issued stuff that they used in the Pacific, you know, in the islands. Everything from clothing to hardware that was necessary, because that's where we were supposed to be headed. And then within a couple of days, the bomb fell, and of course the war over there was over. So that was real quick. So then instead of embarking to go over the Pacific, we stayed in Marseille, which was a staging area, and then at that time they had a system of selecting guys to go home for discharge based on the length of time they had in the service, and you compiled what they called points. So many months meant so many points, and I think they even had campaigns in there that you were in, you got points for that. And if you accumulated a certain amount of points, then you took precedent over somebody else, and then you were being processed for discharge. So from Marseille, I got on a ship and headed for I think it was New Jersey. Camp, was it? I believe it was Camp Pickett. That might have been in Virginia. Anyway, from there, we got on a train. I got into New York City, changed trains, and arrived in Buffalo and into the arms of my mother and my father, you know, and my sisters and brother. So that was the end of my military service. I never went back in. You want me to continue what I did after that? Okay. What I did after that, there was what they called a GI Bill. I had 4 years of school coming to me. I had the government expense, so I took advantage of that. I didn't have a high school diploma before I went in. I finished my high school, and then from there I took a course in metallurgical technology, and I got an associate degree in metallurgical technology, and I was offered a job at Republic Steel, but there was 4 of us were sent there after graduating, but I changed my mind because I didn't particularly care for the environment in the steel plants at that time. It was dirty, dusty, but usually what they did with anybody with an education, they started it down at the lower level of the jobs. You know, it's usually the dirtiest jobs. So none of us stayed. We said no thank you, you know. So from there I went to Westinghouse, which was out here at the airport. I was hired at Westinghouse, and I stayed with Westinghouse for 30-some years, and I retired, my gosh, that was 1982. So 82 until now is what?
23 years.
Geez, I've been retired that long. Wow. And I was a senior designer. We worked on. I worked in the AC/DC engineering section of Westinghouse, and we built generators. We built motors. various sizes. And after that, I retired and enjoyed every minute of it.
Do you have any specific photographs of what went on during the war?
There might be some in here. I did have, yeah, there are some in here. Of course, they're kind of dark. And these were actual photos that were taken and the places where we've been at. But you're talking about personal
Well, just
photos.
any type of like photo.
It was hard to take pictures in combat, you know. We didn't have the photos like cameras like they have today. They were somewhat cumbersome and sophisticated, but somebody managed to take some pictures. But they're a little bit on the dark side, and it's some of the stuff that we built, some of the places we've been at. And I think if you read that, you get a pretty good idea. I don't like to talk about myself so much. I like to talk about the outfit I was with, you know. It's just like a football player. He doesn't care much about it, but he talks about the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, you know, I played for the Bills. And, of course, at that time, I played with the 299 Combat Engineer outfit.
While you were traveling, how were you guys entertained? Like, what did you guys do?
Not much. They were afraid to come too close to the enemy lines. That was why we didn't have these people that usually did show up for entertaining the troops. They were usually towards the rear. No, I don't recall. The only time I recall somebody coming up and giving us some extra service was, I believe it was in Belgium. And during wartime, you don't have the luxuries and pleasures of washing, taking showers, taking baths. You smell kind of ripe sometimes, you know? So the nice thing that happened, we got into Belgium, they brought this, what do they call it? We call it a shower outfit. There was actually an outfit that all they did was set up showers. They brought the trucks in, they had the heating elements, the big water tanks on them. They set up the shower units. We went in and took showers. And they were nice and hot, too. And boy, that was something you really lived for. I'll never forget it. And the only entertainment we really found, at least in my experience, was Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. And this was after the war ended in Europe. We were in Marseille, and they showed up there for I think it was called a USO show. And those were the two people that stick in my mind, because at that time they were popular then as they are today. Of course, they're both dead. I think they are. Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. Yeah, I think they're gone. But yeah, but then they had other troopers in there that put on acts and told jokes, and yeah, that was entertaining.
Did you guys like play any games like?
Cards, like poker.
Yeah, like.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, there was like crap shooting, you know, like, I'm talking about rolling dice. We played a lot of that while we were aboard ship going over and coming back, because there's really not much you can do aboard ship. The ships weren't luxury liners. They were troop ships, and they were built to accommodate a lot of personnel. You had a place to sleep. It was tight, it was crowded, but you got thousands of people aboard a ship. There was really, you made your own entertainment. If somebody had a record player, you know, the type you cranked up, you played a record. But if they did, you listened to that record day after day after day, you know. And I'll never forget Maria Elena, that song. I still cringe when I hear it. And that's about it for the entertainment. Usually in combat outfits, there's not much room for entertainment. If you did get a spell, yeah, if somebody had a baseball, you threw the ball at each other. And there were times, of course, I was, 19, yeah. And we got into some cities, and it wasn't all shooting all the time. We were support troops for a lot of the infantry people. We built footbridges for them to get across rivers. And right behind them were the bigger military units, light arms. They had then the field artillery would come in after that, and then of course we built bridges across the rivers that handle that heavy equipment too. Some of the bridges you can see in the photographs that we constructed. We ran some sawmills, because during war you need a lot of wood to construct things. We got into the Rhine. When we got into Germany, there was a famous bridge that you might have heard of, the Remagen Railroad Bridge, that the Germans had fused up to blow up, but the 9th Armored, we were attached with them. They captured the bridge before they pushed the plunger down, but some of these structures were damaged. We shored up what we could, Band-Aid style, to fix up the thing, and we managed to use that bridge to get some of our crewmen across the Rhine. A few days later, the thing collapsed. So what we did after that, we put up pontoon bridges across the Rhine. And if you're familiar with pontoon bridges, they're nothing but platforms sitting on a big wide raft for the trucks and the tanks to get across. And that worked very well. But we were always harassed by the German Air Force. They would always come in and strafe the bridges, and of course these pontoons were made out of heavy rubber, but you get a 30, 40 caliber shell going through them. I don't know what the Germans used for ammunition, but a lot of that stuff was damaged and it had to been fixed up. But then as time went on, other outfits came up. We built some more bridges, but we kept moving forward and forward until we got into Bastogne. That was in the Ardennes, and that's where the Germans had a counterattack. That was called the Battle of the Bulge. You probably heard. There were movies made of it. And that was the first time, at least we experienced a setback. It was kind of disheartening, and we were scattered. Everybody just took off on their own. You saw the enemy, but there was nobody in a concentrated effort opposing the enemy. They just made such a quick maneuver, and they counterattacked it, and it really surprised us. So we were pushed back. I finally wound up in the back of a truck, and we finally got into a place called Saint Vith, V-I-T-H. And once we got there, then we started coalescing, and the outfits started coming together, and we got help from the Third Army, and we had a phalanx coming up from the south, because they did start coming up from Italy. And then And then we marshaled enough strength, we overwhelmed the enemy, and it was real quick, and it was over with. But those were some of the surprises of war. You think you're winning, you know, you're playing basketball, you're ahead by so many points, but somehow the other team wins. You know, that happens.
I've been there.
Oh, you mean in basketballs?
Anything.
Uh-huh.
Think you're ahead, but you're not.
Yeah, yeah, that happens. Yeah, whether it's basketball, soccer, football.
You were at the Battle of the Bulge, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm
Bell
still
has
still
room.
fighting it.
Guys, can we have your picture with Mr. Dinder, please? For posterity. So you stay right there. Stay.
Oh, okay. These are some of the outfits I belong to. Maybe, I don't know if you can get them.
Do you want, well, what, I'm gonna take, I'll take a picture of those.
Oh,
No,
okay.
you gotta get in, you gotta, well, no, you have to, can you get in? Actually, you two, why don't you take the chairs and sit, or do what she's
Yeah,
doing,
right
just
here.
kneel down. Like
Kneel
her.
down.